The first thing you notice in Bahia isn't just the heat. It's the rhythm.
Morning light spills across the cobblestones, and the air feels seasoned salt from the sea, smoke from grills, something sweet drifting from a bakery you can't see yet. And then you hear it, the soft, steady sizzle that makes people turn their heads before they even know why. That sound is dendê hitting heat, and around here, it's more than cooking.
It's a kind of announcement.
I'm taking you with me into the heart of Salvador to learn acarajé the way it's meant to be made, crisp on the outside, airy inside, and carrying a story that didn't start in a kitchen. It started in hands, in faith, in resistance, in a culture that learned to survive and still feed people beautifully. We stop at a small stall where the scent of palm oil wraps around you like a warm scarf. A woman in white looks up, calm and focused, and she smiles as if she's been expecting us.
You want the true one, she asks, already knowing the answer.
Then we start where everyone rushes, and we don't rush. Back at the counter, the ingredients look almost too simple: black-eyed peas, onion, salt.
That's it.
No shortcuts, no flour, no tricks.
The magic isn't in adding more, it's in doing the basics with respect.
You'll see the peas soaked and peeled until they're clean and pale, ready to become dough. You'll smell the onion as it's ground in, sharp and fresh, and then comes the moment that changes everything.
Because acarajé isn't just mixed. It's beaten.
The dough is worked until it turns light, until it holds air, until it looks like it could float. That air is what makes the shell crackle and the center stay soft.
That's the secret people miss when they try it at home.
If you've ever been curious about Brazilian food beyond the postcards, stay with me.
And as we get ready to heat the dendê, tell me, what's your biggest curiosity about Brazil?
In a minute, we'll talk about the oil, the culture behind it, and the one mistake that turns a legend into something heavy. In Bahia, the morning air has a soft salt to it, like the ocean is already seasoning the day. I'm standing close enough to a street stall to feel the warmth coming off the pot, and the scent of dendê hangs in the air, deep, nutty, almost smoky. A woman behind the counter watches my hands and smiles with the patience of someone who's taught this 100 times. First, we respect the bean, she tells me, tapping the bowl. Black-eyed peas, feijão fradinho, soaked and peeled until they look pale and clean, like they're ready to become something new.
Back home in my kitchen, I keep that same respect.
The peas go into the processor with onion and salt, and the sound changes from rattling to a steady hum as it turns into a thick, pale paste. It looks simple, almost too simple, and that's the trap people fall into. Because acarajé isn't about a long list of ingredients.
It's about technique, rhythm, and patience. In Bahia, they say the dough has to breathe. This is the moment that changes everything, beating the dough. Not a quick stir, beating it until your arm feels it, until the paste starts to look lighter, silkier, and you can actually see air working its way in. I remember her voice in my ear, calm but firm: if you don't beat, it won't puff. It will sink. So I beat it, scraping the sides, lifting it, folding it back on itself. The texture shifts from heavy to airy, like it's slowly waking up. While it rests, I can't help thinking about what's really sitting in that bowl. Acarajé is food, yes, but it's also heritage.
In Bahia, it's carried in white lace and beadwork, sold with pride, recognized as an Afro-Brazilian cultural treasure.
And it's nourishing in a way that feels honest: plant-based protein from the beans, simple ingredients transformed through care.
If you're enjoying this journey into Bahia with me, give this video a like, because the next part is where most people miss the magic.
Tell me, what's the one Brazilian dish you've always been curious to try?
And if you want more recipes with the story behind the flavor, subscribe, because now we're heading to the stove, where the oil has to be hot enough to sing. Back in the kitchen, the bowl feels humble, almost too simple for something so iconic: black-eyed peas that have been soaked and skinned, a little onion, and salt.
But the air in here says otherwise.
There's a window open, and somewhere outside you can hear Bahia moving, distant voices, a radio playing something soft, the rhythm of everyday life. I slide my fingers through the beans and you can feel how clean and smooth they are now, like they've been prepared for a transformation. A woman beside me, calm, confident, the kind of presence that makes you slow down, leans in and says, "Now you don't rush." She gestures to the mixing bowl like it's a drum. We start to grind and combine, and the mixture becomes a pale, thick paste. At first it looks heavy, almost stubborn. The onion disappears into it, leaving only a perfume that's sharp and fresh. And then comes the moment that changes everything: beating the dough.
Not a quick stir. Not a casual mix.
This is work, but it's also a kind of craft. I lift the paste and slap it back down, over and over, letting it catch air, letting it lighten. The sound changes, wet at first, then more elastic, like it's waking up. My arm starts to burn, and I'm tempted to stop, but she watches the texture instead of the clock. "Listen," she says, and she's right, the batter starts to breathe. It turns smoother, paler, and somehow it looks taller in the bowl, like it's filling with tiny pockets of life.
That's the secret. That's what makes acarajé puff, crackle, and stay airy inside.
If you're enjoying this kind of detail, the kind you don't always get in a recipe, leave a like so I know to keep bringing you along for the real technique, not the shortcut version. And I'm curious, what part surprises you most so far, the beating, the simplicity of the ingredients, or the cultural weight behind them? We cover the bowl and let the dough rest, just long enough to settle. The kitchen quiets down, but my mind doesn't. Because the next step is where Bahia announces itself, where dendê starts to heat, and the air turns golden. And that's also where the biggest mistake happens, if you're not careful, so stay with me, and if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. This is the part where acarajé becomes unforgettable. Now comes the part that doesn't look like a recipe at all, but it's where acarajé is born. The peeled black-eyed peas have been soaking, they've softened just enough, and when you rub them between your palms, the skins slip away like thin paper. I rinse, drain, and the bowl turns into a clean, pale canvas.
Just peas, onion, and salt. No flour to hide behind. No shortcuts.
In Bahia, a woman I'm learning from watches my hands and smiles like she's seen this scene 1,000 times. "Agora, tem que bater," she says, and there's a seriousness under the calm.
Now, you have to beat it.
I grind the peas with the onion, and the mixture becomes a thick, heavy paste, almost stubborn.
It looks too dense to ever float in oil.
That's when the real work starts. I lift the dough and slap it back into the bowl, over and over. The sound changes, first wet and dull, then lighter, almost hollow, as air gets trapped inside. My forearm warms up, my shoulder complains a little, but the dough begins to transform.
It loosens. It turns paler.
When I scoop a handful and let it fall, it doesn't collapse like mud anymore, it holds shape, like it's learned how to stand.
That's the secret people miss when they try to blend and go. Acarajé needs air.
It needs the beating, the patience, the rhythm. Close your eyes and you can hear the street outside, distant voices, a bus sighing, a radio playing something soft. And in the kitchen, that steady slap of dough, like a heartbeat. If you're enjoying this kind of cooking that carries a story inside it, tap like for me. And tell me, what part makes you most curious? The beating, the frying, or the fillings?
When the dough is finally light, I cover it and let it rest, just a little.
And while it sits, we talk about dendê. Not as palm oil on a label, but as a smell that announces itself before you even see the pan. In the next moment, we'll heat the dendê to the exact point where the first spoonful tells you if you got it right. Now the dough has rested, and you can actually feel the difference when you touch it.
It's cooler, calmer, like it took a breath.
I dip my fingers in a little water and lift a portion, soft, pale, and somehow already promising. In Bahia, people will tell you acarajé isn't rushed. It's a street food, yes, but it's also a ritual: time, heat, and attention. I slide the pot closer and the dendê starts to speak before it even smokes. Its color is impossible, a deep orange that looks like sunset captured in oil.
The aroma rises and it's instantly recognizable: warm, earthy, slightly sweet, and bold. This isn't a neutral frying oil. This is history in a pan.
I keep my eyes on the surface and wait for that subtle shimmer that says the temperature is ready. If you've ever had a heavy, greasy acarajé, it's usually because the oil wasn't hot enough. The dough drinks oil when it should be sealing and puffing. I drop a tiny bit of batter in as a test. It sizzles and comes right back up, dancing.
That's the signal.
I shape the batter with a spoon, the way the baianas do, quick, confident, almost like they're tossing a small oval of air into the oil. The first one goes in and the sound changes, a steady, happy crackle.
In seconds it starts to inflate, the surface turning from smooth to textured, like it's forming its own crust.
I lean in, watching it brown at the edges, that signature crispness building. Don't crowd them, I hear in my head, the advice passed down like a secret. Give each one space to become itself. I turn it gently and the other side blooms into the same golden orange, the outside crisping while the inside stays light. When I lift it out, it feels almost weightless for its size, and that's the proof you beat enough air into the dough. And while they drain, I think about why this food carries so much pride. Black-eyed peas, onion, salt, simple, plant-based protein made extraordinary by technique and tradition. Then comes the final touch that makes the kitchen feel like Salvador, the dried shrimp. Just a little, crushed between fingers, releasing that salty, oceanic perfume. If this is your first time making it, tell me, what are you most curious about, the dough, the dend, or the cultural story behind the baianas? And if you want more Brazilian recipes told the way they're lived, stay with me, because now we're about to open these acarajes and build the filling the way Bahia expects. And then it happens, that first bite that tells you whether you respected the process. The shell cracks with a clean, dry crunch, and the inside is so light it feels almost whipped, like the dough is still breathing. That's the moment Bahia shows up on your plate, not as an idea of Brazilian food, but as something living, hot, and honest. I always pause here, because acarajé isn't just a snack you fry and forget. It carries a history that's louder than the sizzle. In Salvador, you don't just buy acarajé, you approach it. You wait your turn. You watch the hands that shape each portion with calm certainty. You smell the dend rising in the air like a signal. And you understand, even if no one explains it out loud, that this is Afro-Brazilian heritage made edible, recognized, protected, and still practiced in the street, day after day. If yours came out crisp and airy, you nailed the two things that matter most. You beat air into the dough until it got lighter, and you respected the oil. Dend has to be hot enough to seal the outside fast. If it isn't, the bolinho drinks oil and turns heavy. If it is, it puffs, it sets, it becomes what it's meant to be. And yes, even before the filling, you're getting real nourishment here, black-eyed peas bringing plant-based protein, simple ingredients turning into something deeply satisfying. Now, when you finish it the way Bahia loves, tucked open, kissed with dried shrimp, that briny punch hitting the warm dough, close your eyes for a second. Listen to the sound it makes when you bite. That sound is part of the recipe too. If this video helped you see acarajé differently, leave a like, it tells me to bring more Brazilian kitchen stories like this. And tell me, what's your biggest curiosity about Brazil right now? Its food, its rituals, a specific region. If you want more recipes with the culture inside them, subscribe and come with me to the next one.